With the NBA trade deadline and some big changes in the Eastern Conference, Kyle Lowry stays put in Toronto, but Victor Oladipo joins the Miami Heat from Houston. Magic All-Star center Nikola Vucevic is now a Chicago Bull. Evan Fournier also leaves Orlando for the Boston Celtics, and the Sixers get point guard George Hill from the Thunder. Frank, we've run down the changes. Now, what's the outlook as a result of them in the East?
You know, Michael, it's funny. Last night, Kyle Lowry played, which was surprising for me. If they were going to trade him, he was going to play last night. Then at his post-game press conference, he was kind of saying goodbye to everybody. Drake even called him up. And I'm thinking, you know what? Toronto's not just going to give him away. And you know Pat Riley. There are certain players he didn't want to give up on, including Tyler Hero. So they get Victor Oladipo, undersized guard. I do think as your third, fourth best player, he can help them. But remember this about Oladipo. Since the start of the 2018-19 season, he has played in only 84 games. He's dealt with a lot of injuries. This year, he was part of a team that lost 20 straight games. You could blame it on everybody else, but he was part of that. I think he'll help, but that's not like getting Kyle Lowry for the Miami Heat.
No, it's not the same. I agree with you there, Frank, but I will say this. Oladipo had that one really serious injury. And so the crawl back has been trying to get over that, which was amazing. But let me just say this. Remember, if LaMarcus Aldridge gets bought out, right, from San Antonio, it sounds like the reporting so far is that he could go to Miami. If you add Aldridge and Oladipo to that Miami Heat roster, I think they're back right there, not even with Brooklyn. Nobody's even with Brooklyn, maybe Philly, but certainly in it with Philly and Milwaukee. And I'll say this about the Eastern Conference. Look, the Bulls aren't going to make that much noise this year, but to me, acquiring Vucevic, it's an amazing deal to pair him with Zach LaVine. They're going to be one of the best pick-and-roll teams in the East.
Pick and pop.
I think this is a great trade for the Bulls. We mentioned Miami. I think Fournier will help Boston. I don't think he's a guy who puts you over the top. George Hill, he helps. Look, if Daryl Morey couldn't get this trade done, right, to get Kyle Lowry to come back home to Philly, that means Toronto was loath to give up Philly. Because we know Daryl Morey ain't scared when it comes to trying to put together a trade which is going to help his team. So I don't know how Lowry, is there a chance he could stay in Toronto, re-sign there next year? They got new pieces coming in. This is amazing.
Absolutely.
But I think the East changes a little bit. There's some pressure now. Does George Hill help Philly enough to stay ahead of Brooklyn? Because that's what we're talking. I know Brooklyn ain't Brooklyn right now while none of those guys are playing, but Brooklyn's going to be the Nets that we've seen over the last 6 weeks sometime soon, and can Philly catch him?
Yeah, and George Hill, last year didn't really do much for the Milwaukee Bucks in the bubble. I think he's one of those players that everybody thinks you have to have. Then he's a little disappointing when he gets to that team. Couple of things about Evan Fournier. 73 three-pointers for him. The Boston Celtics' entire bench has 178. He is, in theory, replacing Gordon Hayward, who they never replaced. That's a good move for them.
Right.
And really what they can do,
good move.
You start Fournier, you bring Marcus Smart off the bench. They needed talent. That's why this was a very good move for Boston. But for your Chicago Bulls and Vucevic, he's in his prime, and this is what I like what the Bulls did. This wasn't, we're going to try to win 4 years from now. This was, we're trying to win this year and make the playoffs, and we still want to keep getting better. So thankfully, Arturas Karnisovas and Billy Donovan, they want to win now. How refreshing is that, Michael, that there are teams not just saying, it's for 2-3 years down the road. No, it's about now for the Bulls. They're not going to go to the finals, but they should be a playoff team with that pick-and-roll combination you mentioned.
They should be a playoff team. And, sometimes you worry when you make these big trades about how long it's going to take somebody to get accustomed to the coach, to the players around them, particularly the star player. Zach LaVine, who was great to teammates he knew he could have been losing, like Wendell Carter in this case, like Otto Porter in this case. He was great publicly, and his whole stance was very leadership-driven to me, but he has got to be thrilled now that he gets a big man. Let me just mention the last time the Chicago Bulls, I might be leaving somebody out, but the last time they had a guy in the middle average 24 and 12 was Artis Gilmore, as far as I can tell, and that's only about 50 years ago. Big acquisition, even though they're not going to make the noise out of most of those people.
Yeah, 2 All-Stars for the Bulls. By the way, Michael, 4 guys in the NBA average at least 24 and 10. Jokic, Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the guy that the Bulls just got. That's pretty
very
good.
nice. Very
All
happy.
Right.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.